This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you in part by the Daily Herald.
Well, Naperville Central badminton coach Tamara Burke, you guys coming off a third place finish in your own tournament this past weekend, 14 straight DVC titles, 13 sectional titles in a row. What have you guys been able to do to sustain this type of success?
You know, we've always had been fortunate to have girls that work really hard, and you know, we've had girls that are able to play in the off season and just have that experience and that exposure. And you know, we had been fortunate for a number of years to have a club that actually was here at Central in the off season, and so you know, the girls, most of them would take part in that and just be able to have, you know, the racket in their hand and play in the off season and be able to play different competition and you know, have that exposure to being able to have, you know, that level of competition, you know, other girls from other schools and just be able to keep competing throughout, you know, the off season. So, you know, I guess we're doing something right.
And you know, there's been a couple different coaches that have kind of been here at the helm while you guys have been on this run. I guess just what is it about, you know, are you trying to, you know, maybe preaching to these girls, you know, every day, you know, we don't want to be the ones that break this? I mean, there's got to be some pressure that goes along with that.
Yeah, there is for sure. And this is, you know, my sixth year in the varsity spot, and I had coached JV before that, and Benny Kenyon was the varsity coach at that time, and you know, he kind of really started that whole tradition. And you know, and when I took over for him, there was definitely a lot of things that I kept in place. I mean, you know, having played badminton and having had that exposure, there were some things that I, you know, changed a little bit, but yeah, there's pressure. And you know, we actually did have a conference loss last week on Tuesday to Glenbard East, and you know, it was hard. It was hard for me, but you know, we had just come back from spring break, and the girls, we didn't have practice. We don't have any competitions over spring break, and so and Glenbard East does, and so they definitely had, you know, more time practice and things like that. But they were a solid team, and so I know it was making me a little nervous because I don't want to be the one to break the streak. But I guess, you know, if it happens, it happens. But you know, we'll see and continue to work hard, and hopefully, you know, we take the points from the season and then add to that the points at the conference tournament. So there's definitely opportunities for us to, you know, hopefully make up some of those points that we lost in that match. So
a loss like that, does that kind of give you a little bit more as a coach to maybe work with, to tell them, you know, obviously there's something that we can take from and kind of build on here in the next couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, you know, having been as successful as we are, and the girls know that, and you know, they know what the kind of streak is, and I think having had that loss actually could end up being a good thing for us, because I think that they kind of have seen, okay, we need to keep working, and we really, you know, and not getting too comfortable with kind of where they're at, and really starting to work a little bit harder, which is good. Yeah, for sure.
You talk about match day with badminton. I mean, 10 singles matches, 5 doubles matches. There's a lot of action going on. For you as a coach, how do you kind of spread yourself out on match day where you're trying to maybe manage, you know, so many different things going on at once?
Yeah, it's definitely, your head's on a swivel. So normally, because we have 4 courts per level is what we play, so I usually have 4 matches going on at the same time. And it's nice because the girls that aren't playing generally will obviously are watching their teammates too, so a lot of times they'll kind of, you know, give me pointers, or I'll say, you know, keep your eye on this match and let me know, you know, what you think, which I think is a good learning experience for them too, because, you know, they'll tell me, well, she did this, this, and this, and then they'll say, you know, this is what you need to fix, and then if they don't fix it, they'll say to me, it's so frustrating when they don't do what I tell them. And I said, yes, I know exactly how that feels. So I think it's a good experience for them. But I mean, you try to kind of see everybody, and you know, but I mean, generally, you know, we have kind of the same philosophy, and the girls know what the philosophy is, and you know, and I talk to them about, you know, were you using the philosophy? Did you do what you're supposed to do? And you know, especially at the varsity level, a lot of times they know.
Tina Zhu and Lydia, you state qualifiers this last year. What did they kind of bring to the table as a doubles pair to, you know, coming back as seniors this year? What did they bring? And I imagine, you know, hoping to improve on what they did last year.
Yeah, they bring a lot of experience. They've been playing together since they were freshmen. and I believe last year was their second year as state qualifiers. So they, so this is now, hopefully will be their third year. But we've been continuing just to work with them on, their shot selection, making sure that their movement is good, and they have definitely have, like I said, the experience, and the longer you play with a partner, obviously the more comfortable you are, the movements and things like that, so it definitely makes you more successful. So we're going to continue to work on, different shot selections and things like that with them, and hope, that they, perform even better this year. So
when it comes to the doubles game, what do you kind of look for as a coach when you're a potential doubles pair of trying to figure out the strengths and weaknesses of a player and trying to pair them up with somebody that will be a good fit?
That's a hard thing too. A lot of times they come with someone that they have in their mind that they want to play with, and I try to let them kind of, have some input and be able to play with that person. But if I see that it's clearly not working, and sometimes people, they just don't click, their playing styles are different. Sometimes you have two girls that really are good in the front court and not good in the back court. Well, that's not going to work out because you need somebody to play the back court. So, you just really look for them to be able to have that movement, be able to cover the court, and just kind of have that naturally. And the girls, they usually know too, they'll say, this is just not going to work. And, and you can see it obviously when they're playing too. So, it's just practicing and giving them experience with other players. And we try to do that, especially with, the freshmen, and when they're coming in, and most of them have never played or never have played doubles with any of the others. And so we kind of just rotate it around and figure out what works. And, normally who they played with as a freshman is not necessarily going to be someone they end up playing with, junior, senior year. I mean, if it does, it's great because that's the experience that they get. But, we just kind of try it out and see what happens.
As somebody that was a doubles player in your playing days, how much does kind of having that experience and kind of knowing those ins and outs, do you think that maybe helps you in trying to figure out who's going to work together well?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely, my preference is definitely doubles. And I've been fortunate enough this past year, and then this year my sister is coaching the JV team, and she actually placed fourth in singles when she played. So I feel like we have a good balance, so she kind of helps out with the singles end and I do the doubles end. And and I think, just having that experience and seeing so many different, doubles teams play, and just my experience with my partner as well, you can definitely tell what is workable and what you can kind of help and fix, and what is just clearly not going to happen. So
on the singles side for you guys right now, Elisa Liu holding the #1 spot. What exactly does it take to in this conference, in this area, to kind of be a #1 singles player, day in, day out, seeing the other squad's best player every week?
It's a tough spot. It is. It's tough to be in the #1 spot. And Elisa she's a junior for her first year on varsity, and she's very calm, and that's one of the things I think that's really important, because I think, the girls have a good idea of, who the good players are, and it's definitely, there's a lot of pressure on that #1 person, and but I think it's going to be a great experience for her to be able to be in that spot as a junior, and be able to have, that exposure to be able to play those girls. And but they're tough matches. She just played Tuesday, Wheaton-Warrenville South. We played them, and she's split and played 3 games, and and in a tournament earlier in the season, she had a lot of splits, and so it's definitely a lot of endurance, and and just. It's good competition, and I think it's just going to make her a stronger player. So.
And kind of hearing from her after the match, I know the player she had played from Wheaton-Warrenville South was somebody that she had seen in club badminton, kind of that club influence. Right. It's really shown itself in this area.
Yeah, it is, and even when I played, I mean, I feel like that was kind of when the club was starting out, and now our girls are kind of in all different places, because the club that was here is no longer here, yeah. So they're kind of all over the place, but. Yeah, you definitely, and that's a hard thing too, especially when we, play Naperville North, who is usually, our biggest, obviously, competition rivalry. And the girls come in and they all know each other, and they all want to, hug and be friends. And I said, we can't do that until after we play. But it's tough for them, because, these are girls that they've trained with in the off season, and now, they're on the other end of it and have to, you know, play against them. So, but I think, you know, having that exposure, like I said, in the off season and being able to play against that good competition is definitely beneficial for us.
Who are some of the other leaders on this team? Kind of maybe not towards the top of the lineup. Some of your middle players, you know, that are doing some big things here in practice that maybe necessarily we don't see on match days.
We have 4 seniors, so Tina and Lydia are the 2 that you mentioned, #1 doubles, and then we have 2 other seniors, Kristen Rafferty and Sarah McGriff, and they've been great leaders for the team, as well as, you know, Tina and Lydia. So they've kind of all acted as our captains this year, and you know, Sarah and Kristen have worked really hard, and you know, they've been on the team this is their 4th year now. So you know, it's been great to have the opportunity to coach them, and you know, they're very coachable girls and really are just hard workers, and so I appreciate that. And you know, I think it is nice to be able to, when we practice, all 3 levels practice together, so for the younger girls to just see their commitment and their dedication that they have, I think it's really good and it's beneficial for our team.
So about 4 or 5 weeks here left in the season. You know, a lot of matches on the days right now, but once we get to sectional, once we get to the postseason, you know, it's going to be 4 matches total. Your job as a coach, I guess, how tough is it when we get to that point here 3-4 weeks away where you have to pare down the lineup and kind of figure out who's going to work best in maybe just a doubles player or just a singles player?
Yeah, it's tough, you know, and we've already kind of started to have those conversations, just because it's nice to be able to, on the tournament days, get those girls in those positions, to get them that experience, to have them playing against those different doubles teams, singles teams, so then we can bring that to the seeding meeting for state, and kind of have those records. But it is hard. I'm not sure this year. This is one of those where I'm like, I don't know what's going to be best. So, you know, it's happened before that we've kind of had to do like a playoff, you know, at the end, and just kind of put it as, all right, whoever that best person is going to be the one that's going to end up, you know, being able to have that spot. So I know, and that's one of the things, if I could change anything about badminton and the high school badminton, would be to not have to pare it down to that 2-2, because, you know, you have this team that's worked so hard and has done all this work the whole season, and then it's like, okay, conference is over, so, you know, you guys have to go. And yeah, that would be the one thing that I wish that we could do differently. But
as we move on to the second half of the season, what's kind of the preaching point for you guys as a coaching staff?
You know, just continuing to talk to the girls about using our philosophy that we talk about. You know, they know what they need to do with singles, they know what they need to do with doubles. You know, it's that same thing as a teacher and as a coach. You know, keep repeating that same stuff to them, and, you know, just talk about the real important pieces of the game, and, you know, just making sure that they really understand that. And, you know, and a lot of times they do it in practice and they know it, but then you get in those game situations, and a lot of times I tell them, I'm like, you get into survival mode where you're just out there and you're just hitting it and you're not thinking about what you're doing. And even as a player, for me, that was a hard thing until I got older and then didn't want to have to move as much. And then I said, oh, this is really a lot easier when you actually, you know, hit the right shots. And
sure,
that's what I talk to them about, especially when you're playing tournaments and you're playing, you know, 5 matches in a day. You really have to be smart with the way that you play, so that, you know, you can conserve some energy and not be all over the place. So we just talk to them about, you know, just using the philosophy, using the ability of being able to place the bird in the right spot, and just being smart about their shots.
Well, there's a lot going on here. We appreciate you letting us come by, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.